All right, thanks, Rach. Well, it is a big day in the race to the White House as voters in one big state head out to the polls.
Yeah, in New York, the polls are open in some counties right now, and Tim Lamers has everything we need to know. Tim?
Yes, good morning. Yeah, registered Republicans and Democrats are both voting today in New York. Now, that state's primaries usually don't get this much attention because usually by this stage in the game, we know who the nominees are, or at least who they're going to be. But in this unusual election year, all the rules seem to have gone out the window, which means New York today is the center of the political universe. Now, on the Republican side, there are 95 total delegates at stake. And it's not a winner-take-all state, but it is set up in such a way that Donald Trump should really wind up winning the lion's share of the delegates, if not all of them, if he can get over 50% of the vote. And he does have a big lead in the polls there.
We're going to show Ted Cruz, who hates New York, when you look at that debate and you see the way he talked about us and New York values.
I'm a consistent conservative, that I've been a conservative my whole life. Now, the values I'm fighting for are common sense values.
But here's the interesting thing. CBS just released a poll. I beat Hillary Clinton by 12 points and the two other guys lose.
On the Democratic side, it's interesting because we've got Hillary Clinton, who was a senator from New York, and we've got Bernie Sanders, who grew up in New York. 247 pledged delegates are at stake today in that race, and polls show Hillary Clinton maintaining a solid lead on her side of the aisle.
When the polls close here in New York, then we're going to Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, and Maryland, and on to California.
Let us all do everything we can to make sure that New York State has the largest turnout in a Democratic primary in its history.
Giving you even more primary coverage now. As we said, 247 pledged delegates are at stake today, but the state of New York has another 44 delegates. They're super delegates, and they don't get allocated based on the popular vote. They get to choose whomever they want. Now, who are some of these super delegates? Well, one of them, former President Bill Clinton. No surprise there, he supports his wife Hillary. Two other Clinton-supporting superdelegates include New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and Congresswoman Louise Slaughter. One interesting note about Election Day in New York, it's illegal to take a selfie there while voting. State law prohibits the photography of filled-out ballots, so even more than selfies are illegal here. It's all to help prevent vote buying and coercion. Taking and posting the photo would make you guilty of a misdemeanor. Connecticut has some laws to ensure that voting stays secret, but it's not clear if actual voting selfies are prohibited here. And as the primary in Connecticut inches closer, our state is getting more popular with the candidates. Here's when each of them will be visiting the state. Hillary Clinton, for one, is planning an event in the state on Thursday, but so far there's been no word on a time or a location. However, her daughter Chelsea will campaign on Mom's behalf in Hartford. She's scheduled to hold an event at Dunn's River Jamaican restaurant tomorrow. Plus, if you missed Donald Trump last Friday, don't worry, he's coming back. His campaign says Trump plans to return 2 more times within the next week. But again, no details yet as to when or where. Also, John Kasich will be in Glastonbury on Friday. And we still don't know if Ted Cruz or Bernie Sanders, though, will be making any stops here before the primary on April 26th. Well, one clip from the campaign trail that everybody's talking about this morning is when Donald Trump misspoke while talking about the September 11th terrorist attacks.
And I wrote this out, and it's very close to my heart because I was down there. And I watch our police and our firemen down on 7-Eleven, down at the World Trade Center right after it came down. And I saw the greatest people I've ever seen in action.
And Trump was delivering prepared remarks about New York values when he made that mistake, saying 7-Eleven instead of 9/11. Well, there are still more than a dozen states left who haven't voted, including a big one, California. But 500,000 people there may not be able to vote in the primaries because of confusing language on a voter registration form. That form lists the American Independent Party right alongside the Democratic and Republican parties. And a new poll from the LA Times found that 73% of the people who checked that box thought they were registering as independents and not with that specific party that has independent in the name. Well, those voters still have until May 23rd to try to sort it all out. And the countdown is on here. A week from today is Connecticut's Democratic and Republican primaries. And for the first time in a while, they're going to matter.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, we're going to stay on top of it, of course.
Absolutely.
All right.
Tim,
Thanks, Tim.